Welcome to the Parenting on the Spectrum show with board-certified behavior analyst and infant-toddler development specialist, Theresa Alexander Inman. Parenting on the Spectrum dives into real stories, challenges, and triumphs, offering invaluable insights and support for families on your unique journey. Let's get into the episode.
Welcome. So happy to have with us today Miss Sue Erhart. She is the author of Lose Your Critic for Good and the founder of Practical Spirituality. So excited to have a conversation with her. Welcome, Sue.
Thanks, Theresa. I'm delighted to be here.
So excited to have you. My critic. Who is she?
Great question, because I think one of the most common misperceptions people have is that they think the critic is only about self-criticism. So let me tell you about all the different ways that a critic shows up in our lives and affects us. And the first most obvious one is self-criticism. We're all familiar with that, where we're hard on ourselves or we try to push ourselves in ways that focus on our shortcomings. That's the obvious one. But the critic shows up in a lot of other ways. So behaviors where you play small or settle for less than you want, I would call that listening to your critic. I would say behaviors where you put others, all others in your life first and not yourself, I would say that's listening to the critic. I'd say behaviors where you're conforming to fit in, dressing a certain way, talking a certain way, that's listening to the critic. And lastly, I'd say if you have a habit or tendency of downplaying yourself, sort of the overplayed humility or not celebrating your own strengths, that's the critic too. So the critic shows up with a lot of different behaviors.
Wow. So I'm a busy critic because I checked so many boxes with what you were saying.
I think it's part of our shared humanity, Theresa. So welcome to the club.
Oh my goodness. Now, how did you come by this? What made you when did you become aware of your critic, and how can we become aware of our critics?
Yeah. So I'm a lawyer by training. I'm a person who's always had a lot of ambition, and I'm someone who likes to get a lot of things done. Mm-hmm. And early in my career, I really noticed as I was growing as a lawyer and later climbing the corporate ladder that I was being really hard on myself. And I was even getting into this belief that my success in life was due to me being hard on myself. And I really took a hard look at that and took a step back and really went on an inner journey to challenge all of that thinking. And I did a lot of reading and I did a lot of spiritual work to really delve in on this. And through that work on myself, I developed a suite of tools to help you break free from the critic. They're things that I used early in my 20s and 30s. And what I found is once I kind of did the work of losing the critic, my inner spirit really came forward in my life. My confidence soared. I found that I was very clear on what I wanted from life. And I found that I was far more compassionate too. And when you bring that trio of things together, confidence, clarity, and compassion, there's really nothing that you can't do. And I just found that my career took off. And then later here in life, I'm calling this my second career. I've started writing and sharing my wisdom.
Wow, that is so powerful. And I think so many of us suffer from this condition. We play small, we, try to fit in, just all of those things. So how can we, how do you develop that inner confidence? Because so many, and I think I'm just asking you, does it stem first from confidence, or is there something deeper, something else that plays in first before the confidence issue steps in?
Yeah, I think first you have to do some unwinding before the confidence kicks in. So in my experience, we all have reasons why we're carrying around what I would call the critic mentality, whether it's playing small, putting ourselves last. And most of the time, It's something we picked up in childhood or in growing. And it was a message that told us that this is the behavior that either makes you good, makes you successful, is the right thing to do. I mean, we just pick up all of those different messages, and it's up to us at some point in our life to do the work of looking at those limiting beliefs and beginning to unwind them for ourselves.
Okay, so those things you've picked up, what I'm getting from you then, they don't serve us later on in life. Even though they're meant to, they really don't serve us.
I don't think they do serve us. And I'll tell you, just from my own personal experience, I thought that when I, early in my career, did everything I could to show up the way my employer wanted me, to meet my clients' needs, I thought that made me a good person. Okay, so I mean, again, that was a rubric that I thought I had. And I've really flipped that on its head. And I've now seen through the work that I do on myself and that I help other people with, that first and foremost, you've got to find that foundation of unconditional love, unconditional worthiness, all of those sort of self things before you can really be of value to others. And so I really see the goodness in that self-first mentality, meaning you only have as much to give to another as you have for yourself. So it's really about building a foundation so that you can be of service to others.
Yeah, but then people tell me I'm selfish when I put myself first. How do I combat that?
Well, I'd say first and foremost, you've got to develop the belief and the confidence that focusing on you matters. And when you really believe that and sit with that, other people's opinions matter less to you. And so you're not triggered by them. So I guess the first thing I would say is if someone's saying something to you and you are triggered by that, the trigger is in you. And it's probably that you've got some inner work. For some of us, we might have had a parent who gave up their entire life, always put themselves last. And so we had these subconscious beliefs that was the way to go. And again, I'm not here to criticize anyone in my upbringing because I had wonderful, loving parents, because it's my job as an adult to decide what beliefs I'm going to carry with me into adulthood. So that's my work.
Right. So even though these things shape us when we're younger, we have the power to get rid of them. It's not just, this is how I was raised, or this is how my family is, or this is how we are. It's, I have the responsibility and the power to change that.
Absolutely. And I'd even go so far as to say the responsibility. The work of adulthood is taking responsibility for your own thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, and then setting yourself up for success by adopting beliefs that serve you. And that's a lot what my book is about. It's helping you see where you are limiting yourself, because oftentimes a lot of us don't see the behaviors that we do that limit ourselves. So it's seeing those behaviors, but then making some deliberate intentions to let them go. And I see this as foundational of spirituality. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we think of spirituality, it's just being our authentic selves, right?
Yes, that is. You could not have said it better. I mean, it's just absolutely perfect. I really do believe that that's what it's about. And when you stop listening to these ideas of the critic, and those ideas are things like what I should be doing, or what others expect of me, or what others are telling me is right or wrong. Once you stop listening to all those things, which I call the critic, you start listening to your authentic self.
So I've started the work of, realizing who I am authentically. And, people are like, well, you've changed. Who have you become? Who are you? What's going on? How do I combat that? How do I respond to that?
So I'd start with asking myself, why am I bothered by what they say? And I journal on that and say, why am I bothered? And it could be, so I'll try to use myself as my best example. If I was feeling something like that, I might journal and find out that I have a limiting belief that says I have to stay the same through this life, or I have to show up as my friends need me to show up, not as my authentic self. Okay. And again, you just need to uncover these things, pull them out and look at them. And then with your discerning mind, say, that's not true. And that's not what I want to believe, nor is it what I want to carry on to my children and to others into the world. So again, I would push on you to say, what's getting triggered in you that's telling you you're not allowed to change.
Got it. I'm just sitting with that for a second because I know there's somebody out there who's feeling exactly that and thinking exactly that. Because I know for me, when I started on my journey, it's like, are you okay? It's like, or being asked questions like, what are you high on? Because I find joy in life. And so these are questions that I've had asked of me. And my thing is like, is there something wrong with being happy? Like, no matter what the situation is. Like recently I was stuck in an airport for hours and hours and hours. Like my flight that was supposed to leave, the evening left like the next day. And I would, we were laughing and just having fun at the airport, all the people and I.
Yeah.
And I was talking to someone and they're like, it's such a stressful time. And, this and that. It's like, really, it's not. It's okay. It's what happened. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can control the weather. So the weather happened and, we just chose to have fun with it. The crew was late. So we're like, we can, just swear us in and we can do the whole script, like the whole safety thing and this and that. It's just, we just had fun with it. And there are people who found us strange because we were having fun with it. And I thought they seem strange to me.
Agreed.
In that instance.
Yeah. I do think that as each of us grows and evolves and begins expressing more authentically, there are people who might spin off out of your life. And it often happens to me naturally that they just sort of go out of my orbit. And I just assume that life is showing me there are different people for different times of my life. But I agree with you. I'm a very joy-filled person. And I'm sure that there are people in my life who think there's probably something wrong with that, but I'm so happy, I don't care. So
Yeah. I was told that, stop looking at life through rose-colored glasses. You know what? If that's what I do, that's what I do. Because why look at the negative? Why focus on the negative? Because I think I've grown up with such an inner critic because I never felt like I was good enough. I never thought I was smart enough. I never thought I was enough, period. So one of the ways I combated that, I wrote on my mirror, I am enough. And it was there for a couple of years until I convinced myself that I was enough.
I am right there the same. I mean, I know when I was early in my inner development of my inner confidence, the words that helped me the most were, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. And I had to say that. I mean, I probably went through 6 months to a year where I was saying that, and that soothed me at that time.
Yeah. And, it's funny. I was telling somebody a story earlier today about a foster child who we had. He was 5 years old. And I got upset because he had something dangerous under his pillow. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, you're going to hurt yourself. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, what's wrong with you? And I thought, oh my Lord, what have I just implanted in this child?
Yeah.
And then when I asked him, why did you do that? He said, because something's wrong with me. So I think that dialogue, it started, and I pray, and I had to ask him for forgiveness. And I pray and hope that today he does not carry that around because, children, it becomes an inner dialogue. And I'm praying that it's not, because I know for me, that was, I heard that throughout my life. Those questions and well-meaning people. It's not that they did it because they were being, these were people who love me and all that. But again, not knowing how to approach a situation, we just come up with what we think is best. And, if you're questioned as to what's wrong with you, maybe you have an answer.
I would say that is a common thing that many people do, and people, especially with a critic, is they ask themselves what I would call very inferior questions. One being, what's wrong with me? A question that has no valid answer, so you're not going to get anywhere with that. Questions like, what should I do? As if there's an unwritten rule book of someone else's ideas telling you what to do. Or how can I fix myself? I mean, again, you're not broken. You're evolving, you're becoming. So those questions themselves can create impressions and beliefs in yourself that are very limiting.
So how can we combat that? What questions can I ask myself? What questions would better serve me?
Mm-hmm. Great question. I think the first best question that helps me with so many things is just the question, why? So if I hear a belief or idea or something that's going on in my life, I really want to get to the why and understand, like if there's something I want, whatever it is. So I think why is, but there are many good questions. I journal every morning. And so questions I ask are, what do I need to hear here? What would set me up for success today? What things are going well in my life that I would like to amplify? Where can I show up more authentically as myself? I mean, these are great questions, and then write out answers. And when you get really good at asking yourself good, positive questions, you really pull forward your authentic spirit, and it's just a great way to live. It's a very powerful way to live.
Right. So what I hear you saying is get curious as opposed to beating yourself up with those other questions that don't serve us.
Absolutely. I would say get curious into what you say, because I think we often go around saying things that are revealing our limiting beliefs. I would say get curious about what you think. So notice your thinking, notice where your thoughts are going, and pay attention to them because they can limit you. And notice what you believe. And when those beliefs, which I believe are very malleable, are forming how you're reacting in different situations. And so just get curious about yourself. I think it is completely normal that we are each our own favorite subject. I think that is part of human design, that we are interested in ourselves, in what we think, and in what we believe.
Okay, so it's not being self-centered or narcissistic?
No, I see it as foundational. Again, I don't think that you can give love to another until you truly have love for yourself. And often when you are not in a state of self-love, what you're doing for another is really what you're craving and what you're wanting, and you're projecting it onto another.
Wow. I've never heard that before, and I think that is so powerful. Oh my goodness. And people, listen to that again. If what you do for another is what you're craving yourself.
It frequently. I mean, I see it across in many different ways. I see people who, and again, these are people of what I'll call over service, over attention to others, giving and giving, whether it's experiences, whether it's gifts, whether it's words. And if you stop for just a minute, all of those things are things that you want for yourself.
Wow, that is so true. Just, thinking back to my own experience, my own life, I've always been a giver and somebody who had a really hard time. I'm not saying I'm totally healed of that, but saying no to others, and saying yes to myself more. Because I thought I had it down, and then my husband's like, because I was giving somebody advice about, it's really important to say no. So you can't say yes to everything and everyone. And he says, well, when are you going to pick that up? I thought I was there. So apparently I'm not quite there yet. I'm still, we're all a work in progress, but it's, it's something that I felt if I said yes to people, that's what I was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And because that's what kind, loving people do.
I think all of us have a little bit of that in us, and caregivers especially, we have that. What I would simply say is a practice of focusing on the self, bringing forward your individual wants, your needs, and just really getting reflective about yourself and loving yourself. creates this awesome foundation such that when you enter a situation of caregiving, you're coming at it from a place of strength, true love, and you're much more capable to deal with the demands and the difficulties of caregiving.
Because I'm just going to see if I got this right. You're already full. And when you're full, then you can truly give. However, when we try to give from our own emptiness, we're actually, I don't know, creating more of a void.
I think we're projecting onto other people what it is that we need. And when I find myself projecting onto another person, so for instance, let's say I find myself bossing someone around or giving them advice about how they should live their life, I remind myself that those are words that I need to hear for myself. And in my head, I thank that person. I'm like, well, thank you for letting me project all over you. And now I'm going to go sit quietly and do some inner work to notice that apparently I was the one who needed to hear that.
Yeah, that is so cool. Because there's times when, I talk to my friends like, oh my gosh, it was so good. I was just like, did I just really say that? Because that is really cool. I needed to hear that. So often it's just like the advice that we give to other people. Yeah, it's often for us, isn't it?
It is. I find that when I use the words you should, a big yellow caution light needs to start flashing because I need to say like, I don't know that this is for someone else. I think this is for me.
Yes. I can so relate. It happens too often. Oh my goodness. So is that so with all of this that all these realizations that you've made, is that where practical spirituality came into play?
So practical spirituality is the umbrella for everything that I do. I love to share with people how spirituality has lots of tools and techniques that really help you live a better life. So that's the broad umbrella. And I do a free weekly newsletter where I give an essay every Sunday morning to help you connect with your authentic self and live your best life. And I have a wealth of resources on my website. But a subset of that is my book, Lose Your Critic for Good, because what I have experienced is that the single biggest block to people really expressing as their authentic self is the critic. And once you do the work of noticing the critic and unwinding the critic, which is what the book teaches and walks you through step by step, your authentic spirit just starts to express more and more in your life.
And your life is so much fuller for it, I'm sure.
Oh, it's not only fuller. I think life is easier. It is way more fun. And I always laugh. I say, if somebody had told me when I was a teenager that spirituality was fun, I might have gotten on board a little sooner. But it is. It's very fun. I think it's how we're meant to live. And I sure wish I had more people on the planet who were expressing authentically.
Yes, it would be, because when we express ourselves more authentically, we're coming from a place of love, right? That's what
that's my view of it is, yes, when you're expressing authentically, you're not only coming from a place of love, but you're bringing forward your unique desires, passions, wants, curiosities, interests. I see all of those as emanating from your soul and part of what's showing you your path.
Got it. Yeah, I think that I took a course or listened to a talk called Finding Your Inner Dharma, which I think speaks to exactly what you're saying, just finding that what is your soul's purpose so that we can live that out, because we are all here for a purpose. And it's not just to serve others, because we must first serve ourselves, right?
I believe that is foundational. Again, I don't think you can truly serve others until you create that foundation. And so, yes, it goes exactly in that order.
Okay, awesome. What are some last words you would like to leave our audience with, Miss Sue?
I just would like people to know that this work is really empowering, can be transformative to your life, and really can set you up for success for what you want from your life. So step one is losing the critic. But from there, once you do, it's an upward trajectory of just goodness coming into your life.
Awesome. And where can they learn all this from you?
So my website, SueErhart.com. You can find my writing, my free newsletter, and ways to order my book.
Wonderful. People, please, free yourself up. Give yourself permission to live a fuller life by availing yourself of these resources. And because that inner critic, it weighs us down. And, studies have shown what we feel affects our body chemistry. So the better you feel, the healthier you will become. So releasing yourself of this critic is actually good for not only your mental health, but also your physical health.
Agreed.
Awesome. And thank you, Miss Sue, so much for being here.
Thanks, Theresa.
You're welcome. And thank you, audience. See you again next